Welcome back everyone, I'm Joseph, and today we're starting a new cycle through the Ravnica guilds. Today we're in Azorius, and our commander is Devoted Grafkeeper. Devoted Grafkeeper is a 2/1 human peasant for white and a blue that has when it enters the battlefield mill 2 cards, and then whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, tap target creature you don't control. And it does have a disturb cost, but that just turns it into a 3/1 flyer that can only block flying, so we're going to ignore that. This commander has 3 things that I really like to see on a commander. It has the word whenever, it gives us a hoop, and then it gives us a payoff for that. So this commander wants us to cast spells from our graveyard, and in return we get to tap down our opponent's creatures again and again. That's right, this is an Azorius graveyard control deck. Bet you didn't have that on your bingo sheet. So first and foremost, we want to be casting spells from our graveyard. Based off of the set that is common, we obviously want to be casting creatures with Disturb. So for example, we've got creatures like Gale Drifter and Drogskull Infantry. Both of these are perfectly serviceable creatures on their own, but when we disturb them, we can get 2 kinds of effects. The first is a second creature, such as Whale Drifter, a 2/2 flyer, and the second is an enchantment effect to make our board stronger, like Drogskull Armaments, which will give any of our creatures +2/+2. But another category of graveyard casting is Flashback, and here we've got several more options. First, we have Deep Analysis and Otherworldly Gaze. These are going to give us a straight card advantage so we can dig for answers. Otherworldly Gaze will even help us stack our graveyard. We've also got protection effects like Momentary Blink and Prismatic Strands. Momentary Blink, I want to point out, can be used to actually reset our disturbed creatures to their front phase so that we can get more value out of them. And Prismatic Strands' flashback cost is simply tapping an untapped white creature we control. And since we won't be swinging with our dedicated 2/1 commander, we will always be able to cast this in a pinch. And then outside of Disturb and Flashback, we also have Jumpstart and Escape. We want to be very careful with these because they are actually going to lose us card advantage as we cast them, since Jumpstart will need us to discard a card, while Escape will make us exile cards from our critical graveyard. I've included here Maximize Altitude and Sentinel's Eyes, both of which will provide slight buffs to our creatures, and we can cast them from our graveyard. Speaking of, we do need to fill our graveyard, but we can't do it carelessly. So we're going to use looting effects like Merfolk Looter as well as surveil-like effects like Cruel Witness. These will allow us to decide what we want to put in our graveyard so we can decide what we want where we want it. Then we're going to take advantage of our large graveyard with Threshold and Delirium effects. Mystic Zealot and Inquisitor's Ox will become fairly decent swingers once our graveyard activates them, becoming a 3/5 flyer and a 3/5 vigilance, respectively. And then we've also got strong tap effects, like Vigilant Sentry and Hallowed Healer, that will allow us to really swing combats in our favor. Vigilant Sentry will be able to tap and give target attacking or blocking creature +3/+3 until end of turn, while Hallowed Healer will be able to tap to prevent the next 4 damage dealt to target creature or player. Neither of those numbers are trivial, and they can really be effective in the right scenario. And then we can also weaponize our graveyard with Spontaneous Mutation, an ore enchantment for a single blue mana that has flash and also gives enchanted creature -X/-0, where X is the number of cards in our graveyard. But don't forget, every card we cast out of the graveyard is going to tap down a creature. We're going to maximize this tap down effect with creatures that tap when they swing, like Rock's Veteran, which will also buff our team at the same time with its Battlecry effect. We can attach this tap on swing effect to any creature with Grasp of the Hieromancer. And then we can lock down our opponent's board with Blinding Beam, a really fun instant for 3 and a white that has we can either tap 2 target creatures or creatures don't untap during target player's next untap step. And for simply paying an additional 1 mana, we can get both of these effects. However, tapping isn't a permanent solution, but we can make it one with removal effects like Piercing Rays, a sorcery for 1 and a white that allows us to exile target tapped creature. And we can even forecast it by paying 2 and a white and revealing it from our hand to tap target untapped creature, just in case our opponent has a creature with Vigilance or something else with an Anthem effect that they don't need to tap to use. And even if we don't have our tapping machine online yet, we can still use Piercing Rays in response to nearly any attack and punish our opponents for swinging at us. So, how are we going to win? We're going to lock down our opponents and then use our board to swing in and take them out. We're going to pump our team to victory using Kythian's Tactics or Marshalling Cry. Both sorceries for 1 white, where Kythian's Tactics will give our creatures +2/+1 until end of turn, and with Spell Mastery will also give our creatures Vigilance, while Marshalling Cry will give our creatures +1/+1 and Vigilance until end of turn, but it also has Cycling and Flashback for 3 and a white, meaning we could potentially cast it twice on the same turn, giving our board +2/+2. We're going to swing in hard with our pumped team, and our opponents will simply be too tapped out to resist. And that is our Devoted Grafkeeper deck. It's pretty unusual for Azorius, being very graveyard-centric and technical, but it can be deceptively strong in the right hands. This deck is going to run us only $11, making it one of the cheapest decks we've had so far. The deck list is in the description. Please like and subscribe, and come back next week when we get extra Bernie with the Boros Guild.